Chalice here, star date 44330.1900, otherwise known as Friday, May 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. So, first of all, I've got the air conditioner turned off, so let's see if that makes a difference in the sound. I hope maybe I can get rid of some of these filters I have put in to try to compensate for the background noise. So, we'll just see. Right, so let's start. Often you hear phrases such as stay safe, or keep you safe, or for your safety. I used to hear a lot when I was younger, safety first. But what is safe? What does safe mean? What does it involve? Safe, actually, isn't an inherently independent word, or the definition of safe isn't inherently independent. Safe is the result of the absence or reduction of risk. So it's safety is dependent upon the amount of risk. So more risk, less safe, more risk. Risk is the degree to which there is a danger of something. So it has its own independent definition, but safe does not have a definition other than the absence or reduction of risk. So, and that's like cold. Thermodynamics tells you, or in that area, tells you that there really is no cold. There is only the reduction or absence of heat. The more the heat is removed from the air, the colder the air will feel. So safe is a lot like that. There is no safe. There's only the absence or reduction of risk. And that's how with the cold, with taking the heat from the air and leaving cold. That's how air conditioners work. The air is compressed. The resultant heat is dissipated, and then when the compressed air is released, it's cold or colder than it was when it started, and cools the surrounding air. But actually, technically, that colder air absorbs the heat from the surrounding air, and the two temperatures equalize at a lower temperature than the surrounding air was before the cold air came in. So that's basically how an air conditioner works. And risk works similarly. The effort is to try to reduce the amount of risk, and then to the point where at a balance between what you will accept or what you will live with or what you will continue on with an activity is if there's a high risk, you want to reduce the risk to a point where you're comfortable with it, and then you can go along. Like flying, I'm getting back into bringing my pilot's license current, and so flying these little airplanes, yes, there's a risk, but you don't just go off the street without any training or classes or anything and go fly a plane, because that would be foolish. The risk is pretty much nearly 100%. So you want to reduce that by learning, by practicing. So you can reduce the risk, because then that's the point. It's you don't want to take unnecessary risks, like you don't want to jump off or go bungee jumping without the bungee cord. That would be kind of silly. Well, unless that's your intention. You're done and you're ready to check out. We wouldn't want to drive a high-speed, deadly machine, otherwise known as automobiles, and pay absolute attention to what's going on. Or would we? How many are looking at the screens of their phones while speeding down the road? Sadly, it's a lot. They don't. I've seen them on the internet talk about taking unnecessary risks, and not just to themselves, but to others as well. So there is the concern about safety. On the other hand, if all we do consider is being absolutely safe as much as we possibly can, making every effort to be safe, we'll spend so much effort trying to be safe that the task we're trying to do either doesn't get done or can't get done. And truthfully, by the time you do all that effort, and making the efforts themselves carry their own inherent risks, so what have you really accomplished? Because there is, and there has been no advancement without risk. We don't grow, we don't progress, we don't evolve without taking some kind of risk. So there is always a risk, and there always has to be a risk. It's just not possible to try to reduce or eliminate all of the risk. Look, Columbus sailed across the ocean. That was a huge risk, especially at a time when the settled science insisted that the Earth was flat. So according to everybody else, he took a huge risk that he could fall off the edge, and that was all she wrote. But obviously, or apparently, he didn't consider that, or he was going to take it anyway just to see what was there. And there's been a lot of progress over history just to see what was beyond what was comfortable. So, and you've heard about, you got to get outside your comfort zone in order to grow as anything. So another example, the lion risks being stabbed with a horn or being trampled when he chases a herd of gazelle to try to get some food, something to eat. There's a risk there, a risk to his life or serious injury where he would certainly die. So, and also when you ride a horse and you fall off, what do they tell you? After making sure you have no serious injuries, what they tell you is you have to get back on the horse. You can't just say, okay, well, I fell, that hurt, I ain't going to do it anymore. You can't do that. You've got to get back on. You've got to pull yourself up and keep going. You can't. So there is always a risk, and to try to be safe all the time is not only impossible, but you spend so much effort doing so that you can't really accomplish anything. And what about the astronauts? When they launch into space, how big of a risk is that? Huge. Yes, you've got this old support center in Houston and in the Cape and all that, but to try to reduce the risk. But either way, that's still a huge risk. And there have been times when the risk won. And they still go. The astronauts still go, even knowing that others before them have died doing the same thing. They still go. So what does that tell you about their courage, really? So, but what other examples can you think of throughout history where people took a risk, and some have failed, but not everybody failed. Some succeed. And in your daily lives, what examples can you find of where you took a risk? Whether you failed or not, even in the failing, and sometimes more often the failing is the better chance to learn. So there is always some amount of risk, and to be obsessed entirely on staying safe or keeping safe, you just can't accomplish anything. And I think really a lot of people say these things out of habit. They're not really aware of what that means. So this is why I'm talking, to try to bring some awareness of what is safe really. It's just the reduction of risk to a point where you're balanced and you're okay with the amount of risk that's left over. I think that'll be enough for today. Just remember there's always some risk, but and you can't always just focus on staying safe. So instead of staying safe, keep yourself safe, we can say, be well or take care. So on that note, and if I don't stop, I'll talk for an hour or so. So as you go on living your daily lives, take care of yourselves, and as always, stay courageous.